Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world. Listen to our program via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by We the People. Don't forget it. Created by We the People, now controlled by the ever extracting, the ever engorging plutocracy. Oligarchy. But you know what? We have to learn what we need to do to take it back. But without further ado, we go back to the studio. El Señor Jack Van Beber and Mayana.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I was actually had in my mind Jimmy Cliff sitting here in limbo.
Oh, don't do that to me,
Yeah.
Jimmy. Why are you going to try to bring out my Caribbean roots, huh? Come on now.
Because they're cool. They're cool.
Because they're cool. Yeah. Next thing she's going to start singing. Oh, that's a good restaurant, man. You know, Cool Runnings. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I thought that's what you said, but oh man, the patis there and the oxtails and the curry goat, not the goat soup. Oh God, madre mia. Mayana, why did you start this?
Soup.
Yes, it's great. Look, Mayana is dangerous. Be careful. If she ever starts to get you to go to that place, you're in trouble. Just telling you.
No doubt.
Just saying. Anyway, how you guys doing this morning?
I'm good. Good morning, Egberto. I'm just going to do your headlines today.
Yes, sir.
All right. Christie delivered a scathing critique of Donald Trump's economic record. Christie also lambasted Reince Priebus for defending RFK Jr.'s incompetent leadership of the Department of Health and Human Services. Across the pond, France's third prime minister in 12 months has fallen as political factions from the far right and the far left reject neoliberal austerity aimed at forcing working people to pay for financial mismanagement. Darn. While here in the U.S., we dismantle the fraudulent narrative that the wealthy don't have enough money to solve America's crisis. The issue isn't scarcity, it's how income is defined, taxed, and hoarded by billionaires. Progressive taxation and redefining income are key to solving inequality and rebuilding democracy. Right on, man.
Right on. Do you remember those days when we said, right on, baby? You know?
Right on, dude.
We're aging ourselves. Hey, wait, come on. Why did you have to say that, Mayana?
Oh, sorry. No. Well,
dang. You know, sometimes I do that and my daughter's like, oh, yeah, Dad, I see it on those old movies that were made before I was born. I'm like,
the 70s too, because you had the good times, you know? Right
oh, man. I tell you what, people make fun of good times for the stereotyping stuff. But I'm sorry, I used to love me some JJ.
Yeah, some Kid Dynamite.
Kid Dynamite. You know, look, but I tell you, you know, sometimes I sit back and think about those old days and think, things seemed so simple then because we were out there making progress. Things weren't great, but you were starting, you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We were, as Obama would say, or even not Obama, it's actually MLK, the arc of good move to the, you know, it's always towards progress. I said it wrong, of course, but you guys know what I mean. It's towards progress. And now we have to get rid of the crap that we have now in order to start seeing that light again. But we are going to see that light again, folks. We promise. If we educate ourselves, this era of nonsense will just be that, an era of nonsense. All right. So can I get started yet, brothers and sisters?
Yes, you can.
All right. Look,
We're ready.
I got to ask the folks in the studio first. You know what I mean, guys? These guys, they have all the buttons to push and all that good stuff. But anyhow, here we go. First of all, buenos dias, LBW. Profesora LBW said, good morning, KPFT family. It says audio problems. Oh, it's back. It's back. Well, thank you. I'm glad it's back. Judy, welcome aboard. It's never happening. Welcome aboard. Linda Richards, welcome aboard. And remember, I missed a few dozen in the beginning. So if you tell me your city and state in the Substack chat, I'll salute you. I also have Joe in the chat, the other chat from Los Angeles, California. Love you, Joe. How you doing, sis? Great to have you here. Anyway, Jack read the headlines of the purported show for today. But after I read the article about France losing its prime minister, the third one in 1 year, and the reason is because of austerity and Macron's continuous effort of implementing neoliberal policies in France, where their solution is not to go to where the money actually is, but to make all of us pay for the ills of what the wealthy has done. You know, I mean, it's like Marie Antoinette all over again. Is that her name? I believe. Anyhow, so let's get busy. I want to start today by giving neoliberalism 101. But it's not really going to be in the context of true neoliberalism 101. It's going to be in the context of money. And I think this is important because we are snowed so often by the lies that they tell us about our own economy, lies they tell us about income, the lies they tell us about wealth. I don't know if you ever hear a right-wing person or the sycophants that defend the rich all of the times. People that would, whenever, progressives come out there and say, we need to tax the rich, we need to tax those who most are taken out of this system. There is this phantom argument that they use all of the times that they say things like, the rich doesn't have enough money to be taxed, or there's not enough money, there's not enough income out there. That's why we have to go broad base to the middle class. And, I can see where they're coming from. I understand where they're coming from because the ignorance of the statement was implanted not by them, but by the concerted efforts of those who, following the tenets of the Powell Memo being that document written by Democrat Lewis Powell, who was ascended to the Supreme Court by Republican Nixon. He was the lawyer for the Chamber of Commerce. He pointed out, look, man, people are getting smart. The progressives are really getting their message across. People are starting to ask the most important questions. Why do we do all the work? Why do they do all the work? The progressives are saying, why do we, progressive representing all the people, why are we doing all the work, but all the spoils go to the top? And that's what really happens. We do the work and they make the money. They take it all. That's what happens, folks. That is what happened. They don't tell you it's what happened. That's what happens. And people started to get it. And all in the 70s, that time of the year that Mayana makes fun of, all in the 80s, these people started to get, actually the 80s is when the clamp came down with Donald Trump, with Ronald Reagan, but folks started to understand what was happening. So the magic that they did why they put that statement in there, and then mathematically people say, well, how much income is generated in this country? Oh yeah, if you claim that you could just tax the wealth, the income of the rich, you would never ever be able to, pay all these taxes that are needed to support the welfare state. The welfare state, they've made that sound pretty bad, but there's nothing called the welfare state that is bad. The welfare state just means we as a society collectively work to ensure that we all fulfill the preamble of the Constitution, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, and the part that says in order for the welfare of us all. And that's what it's all about. If you don't think about the welfare of all, if you don't think about collectivism for all, there's no point in society. You don't have a society. You have a fief servdom. You have a slavery master. It doesn't matter how you quote it. That's what you get. If you don't have a collective society where together we all work to make life better for all, we're not talking about equality. We're talking about equity, where everybody has equal access to success. If you want to make more than the other person, as long as you're doing more work, that's equitable. As an example, Brother Musk does very little. Let's just read LVW, who says, if Elon Musk was forced to contribute proportionally to Social Security, it would be solvent for 75 years, and he would never even miss the money. And you're right about that. Actually, if all were to do that, it'll be solvent forever going forward. But so let's explain the magic that these people do. The magic that these people do is redefine income. When you go to work, when LVW goes to make our children intelligent at school by being the teacher, when she goes to school and make people intelligent, she's doing something productive for society, and she gets a check. She gets a check to pay for her services, a very important service. When that engineer goes to work, he gets a check. He exchanges that check for his services. When the lawyer, the doctor, the janitor, the garbage collector, all of them do something that is immensely important to society, and they get a check. They get their income. And that income, in order for all of us to have streets and flowing water and bridges, we take a piece of that check and build something with it. But then there are those who get a check for doing nothing. They will say, well, I invest my money into something that give other people's a check. And for investing my money, I get a cut of everything they produce, irrespective of how long it takes. And let me tell you how arcane that type of a system is when implemented ad nauseum. That person who owns Intel, and Intel is owned by quite a few thousand people. They go ahead and they take their money and they give that money to Intel. It's called an investment. And when they invest, and we're not even talking about how they got the money in the first place. A lot of it is ill-gotten gains. Let me digress a minute. That rancher in West Texas who owns 1 million acres in West Texas, somehow that family got that land. King Ranch, let's just look at the King Ranch. They got that, and forever on moving forward, all the oil on that land, all the pasture to graze their cattle on that land, all of that they took, they robbed, they stole, and it's theirs for centuries now, or several
over 100 years, it's theirs, right? And with that, for life, they're able to have assets, and they take some of that money and they invest in companies who pay the peons who make wages. The peons being the engineers, the lawyers, the doctors, etc. They get wages from the capital, those folks who we don't know how they got their money, but they invest. And for that, society, the way it is constructed today, gives them a cut of everything everybody who works for Intel makes. It gives them the profit from, let's say, that engineer and scientist design a chip. That engineer and scientist who design that chips get paid once, right? Or if they continue working, they get paid. But that chip lives on forever and ever and ever. So that stockholder, the shareholder who put just their money, not their work, they just said, I want a piece of what that worker makes. So they go ahead, they buy a stock in a company, the workers in the company, the slaves in the company do the work, they create the chip, they create all these things. And that person who had the capital to invest forever and forevermore gets a piece of the action for everybody who works at that factory. They lay you off, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They continue to make money doing nothing. That's the system. Can you blame them for using the system the way it's designed? No, I don't blame the shareholder. I mean, you have a lot of retirees that have money in these stock in Intel and all that. Do I want them to? No, I don't want them to disappear. I just want folks to understand the concept of how we have those who work for their jobs and those who simply sit on their you know what and make income from everybody else because they had capital. No matter how they got the capital, most of it, if you want to be technical about it, stolen. They invest their stolen capital and they're forever rich by doing nothing. Everybody likes to use as an example those who pulled themselves up and got rich from their bootstraps. What you find when you go into the underlying story, it's never that simple. From people talk about them building stuff in a garage and also the people like, let's say, Bezos, who started with just selling one book at a time and it turned into the best retailer. Those are the fantasies they tell, just like the fantasies we hear about how our great country started. Our country wasn't great. We over time made our country great. But you get all these myths about how we started, the Thanksgiving myth, the Christopher Columbus myth. These were savages. Christopher Columbus was a savage. But we learn these myths and then we turn it into folklore. And because we turn all these things into folklore, etc., we get to live the lie. And people are pained by the lie. So going back to the subject at hand. So we have the way that people make their money. Okay. Now, it's bad enough that we get the wealthy as loafers. In other words, I see a good deal. I invest in that good deal and I start to make money off of that good deal no matter what. I want to tell you a few of the other lies they tell. They say, well, that person, the poor peon, we, the poor peons, the sycophant peons who always are there to protect the wealthy, who cares nothing about them, would say, well, they invested their money. They put their money at risk. Okay. Yeah, they put their money at risk. You're right. Because some companies will fail. But the lie is that if these companies fail, these people lose their money. And that is false. when a wealthy person lose money in company number A, they don't lose that money. They recover that money through write-offs. That's how the tax system works. And that's why I say education is so important. So let's say I'm super wealthy and I buy a whole bunch of stocks in Intel. And let's say Intel goes under, but I also bought a whole bunch of stock in Nvidia. Nvidia starts to make a ton of money. And I start to make a ton of money in the capitalization that I did with Nvidia. I won't start paying any taxes on Nvidia until I recover the losses that I took in Intel. So even if I lose money in Intel, because I have investments in many other things, I write off those losses from Intel on my Nvidia profits. So ultimately, I lose nothing. They don't tell you that. But these are all the magical things that the lies about, oh, these people take risks. In employment, you know who take risks? You see that engineer at Intel who is in that clean room of bad gases that even if it's in a small quantity, they breathe in and eventually get lung cancer. You know that farmer who's messing with those fertilizers to grow our food on those company farms that get cancer in their liver, etc. Those are the people taking risks. The American worker, you, the folks that are listening to me, you're the ones taking the risk, not the wealthy. But it gets even worse. Because here's the deal. When I call a large percentage of the wealthy, either they are psychopaths themselves or because of their lack of knowledge or implicit psychopaths. I'm serious. So all of us work, LBW work as a teacher and all these other folks work as engineers, etc. All these people go to work and they make money and they pay wages. And I mean, their wages are taxed. Their income is taxed so that we can have streets and we can have clean air, all these good things that your taxes pay for. But they're a group that most benefit from all of the good things that society have to offer, streets and all of that don't want to pay their fair share. The wealthy person use the roads more than anybody else because their trucks from their factories, the airplanes that deliver their products, all these things they use more than anybody else to make income, but they always try not to pay. And people say, well, again, they're not making enough income if you calculate what income is. So what do? They redefine what is income. So while you get wages, you have income, and your income can be taxed at up to 30. I think the max now is 37 or 39%, somewhere around that. Your marginal increase in your wages, and we have a progressive thing. So you pay at the highest rate, you pay 30-something%. The wealthy person that is accumulating that wealth, they don't pay anywhere close to that. And let me tell you why. Because as they collect, they don't want to collect income as wages. They don't want to collect all their income as dividends. Dividends is like you own a stock, you get a percentage, it's like an interest rate, but it's a percentage. It's a profits that are divided to pay you a dividend. That dividend would be taxed as sort of not exactly at wages, but similar to wages, a higher tax rates. They don't want that. So instead, when these companies start to make profits, they don't necessarily want to only pay dividends because dividends are taxable, not as taxable as wages, but they're taxable. And, they don't want to pay any taxes. So what do? They say, okay, let's redefine how we are going to be paid. We don't want to be paid fully in dividends. We want to be paid in tax appreciation. That means they want to see that Intel stock go up in price, what's known as capital gains. So when you're watching that TV and you see all the stock prices going up, that's people making money that, first of all, not taxed at all, right? Because you don't pay taxes on capital gains, meaning the increase in the price of the stock, which makes you more money until you sell that stock. And even when you sell that stock, the amount you pay in taxes for capital gains, which is still income, still money, is different than the person who goes to work every day, working with their hands, putting their body at risk, building that dam, building all these things and putting themselves at risk. The person who sells a stock and get a huge gain in that stock pays less in taxes than the American worker. So that's one way that they get over the tax system, why we have a larger tax burden on all of us, why they talk about austerity, because they don't want to tax them. The money is there, we're just not taxing them. But it goes further. These people start to say, wait a minute, but I don't want, is there some other way I can not pay any taxes? And they say, yeah, there's another way I can not pay any taxes. And how is that? Well, you know what we'll do? We'll create a new mechanism. I will keep all of my stocks appreciating yearly. They constantly appreciate. We constantly have the companies buy back their stocks. Instead of paying the dividends from those profits that we make, we take those profits and buy back stocks. When the government gives them subsidies, instead of hiring people, they take those subsidies and buy back stocks. Remember with the PPP and all of that, people were getting paid like crazy and buying back their stocks. And that caused, because there are less stocks for the same company, the price per stock go up. These people make a lot of money, tax-free until they sell it, but they are not selling it. And why aren't they selling it? Because guess what they do? They go to a bank or an insurance company and they say, hey, I want you to loan me money. And the bank lends them money using the stock as a collateral for the money that they loan that they will never, ever pay back because the bank is using the stocks as a collateral. So when they file their taxes, even as they're taking out millions of dollars in loans so that they can live, however extravagant they want to, they pay no taxes because it's a loan, baby. And we don't pay taxes on wealth. We don't pay taxes on wealth, which is the only way to solve our problem. We have got to have a wealth tax because that is where all the money is hidden in extraordinary wealth. And when they say, but there's not enough money, you can't tell me that 3 people control more than 20% of all the wealth in the country, and we don't have the money there by taxing these people. It's a fraud on your intelligence. It's a fraud on you. It's a theft of our resources, and that's the economic system we have. I just said it the way it is. You listen to CNBC, they make it sound sexy, like it is something everybody has the opportunity to do and everybody can participate, etc. It's a lie. It is a psychopathic pathway that the wealthy use to constantly extract all the services, all what we produce. We are a rich country. I don't think people understand how rich we are. And the inequities, the inequalities in the way we distribute our money is by design. And that design is called unfettered capitalism. And if anybody who has heard this discourse, and assuming that I was marginally well in saying it, let's say I did a fairly good job in explaining it. If you are still out there trying to say, let's have austerity and not tax the wealthy, then if too many of you believe that, the country is in irreparable trouble. Because the reason we are in the state that we're in today is the pilfer of that class on the rest of us. It's the pilfer, the pillage. And it's done, I talk about antiseptic slavery. It is done so nicely. It is done so antiseptically that you don't see it. And that's the magic in all of this. As I'm putting the knife in you, I'm smiling and telling you I love you. That's what type of economic system we have. And until we understand it, learn it, and then unabashedly elect people who are going to go to those parasites and tell those parasites the game is over. We're taking back what's ours. Until that day comes, we will continue having starving babies. We'll continue making bombs instead of building canals. Ironically, and this may sound horrendous, but ironically, China is no good person, the government, but they actually see some merit with their belt and roads or whatever they called it around the world that now America fears in understanding some of these concepts. There's a lot more to say, but I see calls are starting to come in. So let's go ahead. Glenn Ryan is on. Glenn, I'm going to have to write a blog about me and you soon. Glenn says, great. So let's support or form a party that agrees with you, Egberto. Please say it aloud that the Democratic Party is a full participant in the very theft you have been talking about. I agree, Glenn, but you are a participant as well. All of us are participants until we're not. We are all participants, because if we think I can just go form a party or we can form it, that's not how it works. We have to be willing. First of all, we have to do, you see what I'm doing right now and telling the full story, Glenn? That is what we have to do, Glenn. We have to do the hard work. It doesn't come with, okay, I know it's a theft and I form a party. That's not how it goes. We have to respect people enough to first do the informing, getting there, earning their respect, talking. That's what progressives need to do first. We can't just say, I am right. What I'm saying, I'm right. I have to first be humble enough to talk to everybody and get everybody to understand what's going on. And if they say, no, we don't deserve that, then everything else would come together, Brother Glenn. Okay? There you go. Let's start with Patrick. Come on in, Patrick, line number 1.
Well, it's not why I called, but I would point out to Glenn that there's a number of progressives that, even though they're privileged with insider information, they do not choose personal stocks, and they do that to separate themselves from the people that are abusing their position.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. But anyway, Patrick, talk to me, my brother.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about overtime. That's been a hot topic for a lot of people in the working class, and it was something that Trump promised. And I mistakenly have said that he didn't make good on his promise. I think you have the same impression. It took me about 9 months to think about it, but he did deliver on his promise just to half the people involved. I believe that there's 2 parties that pay into the overtime tax, and one of them is your employer. Your employer is going to have no problem meeting the deductions that it takes to not pay tax on your overtime. And then since they're not paying tax on your overtime, that leaves a void of income. So we have to pay more in tariffs to make up for that.
And tariffs are paid by everybody. It's not a progressive, it's a regressive tax. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, he made good on his promise. He didn't intend to help out the working class, but that he was intending to help out corporations. So corporations are not going to be paying tax
Social
on your
Security.
overtime.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? You're absolutely correct that a lot of taxes will be missed by not doing that. But here's the other thing as well, right? There's this stuff called, whenever you fill out your paperwork, and you probably make too much money to see that, but there's this stuff called the standard deduction. Even people working at hotels, etc., that are making a whole lot of let's say they start to make a whole lot of overtime, they still don't make enough to get past the standard deduction. So that stuff about no tax on tips or no tax on tips or no tax on overtime doesn't even come into play, because again, the reality is that standard deduction would have meant they paid no tax anyway.
I agree 100%.
So, I mean, we have to be careful with again, and the other thing, no tax on tips was really not for the tip worker, again, because the standard deduction mean they weren't going to pay taxes anyway. But you know what? Who can charge a tip now? Let's say you go see your rich stockbroker, and your stockbroker gives you a bill. A part of that bill can be labeled a tip, and then there's no tax on tip. And for him, it matters. We got to, so I mean, you have to realize anytime Trump or their sycophants do anything, it's never for the working class. And if you see what's happening to the farmers, it's just the farmers are getting more traction on TikTok and other places now than they're getting on mainstream media. And the thing about it is the farming community, it's a big FAFO right now, because now they are bleeding the farming community, and I want to be there for them. A lot of people are on these other social medias really demeaning them. Well, didn't you see that coming? What you thought it was for you? Because we're going to lose about 33% of our farms if something isn't done rather quickly, because everything Trump did screwed them. From closing USAID, they wanted to close USAID. Okay, USAID is closed now, and now the farmers can't sell their soybeans and these other products. We want to have tariffs. Okay, well, now China is buying a whole lot of stuff from Brazil instead of buying it from the United States. Everything Trump did screwed the farmers, but they voted for him. All right, Patrick, I got some other calls. Anything else you want to say real quick?
Yeah, two quick closers. You do not want a family farm being purchased by a corporate farm, because it will produce food that is worse for you. So even if you're enjoying FAFO, you're going to end up FAFO when you get cancer from what you're eating. And then I want to further expound on the overtime taxes, that no overtime taxing towards the corporation incentivizes them to force more people to work overtime, and it drives down employment, because they can just they're going to get a discount on their overtime pay whenever they need it. They'll just work the current workforce harder, and then when the economy gets worse, then they'll just tell them to stay home on a Friday and Saturday.
There you go. You nailed it. Thank you, brother. Have a good one, Patrick. See you at 3. All right, let's go to Richard. Come on in, Richard.
Yeah, thank you. Speaking of fraud on logic, from what I understand, Egberto, there's a man on the Houston City Council, District E.
Flickinger. That's my Congress. That's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Fred Flickinger.
Flickinger. Yeah, Flickinger.
And yeah, he is. Wow, what a piece of work. He has actually voiced this. He came out and said, "Why? What rights are they marching for?" As in us. And I got a list of them, and I've already texted him and emailed them. But I wish that some more logical-minded people would do the same thing that a lot of us are doing. Get a hold of Mr. Flickinger and tell him what rights, the rights cops not to be killed at the United States Capitol by an insurrectionist, the rights to, the rights to march, the rights to marry who you want to marry, the rights for overtime, the rights for, I can go on and on and on.
You can go on. Well, I appreciate that, Richard. Let me just say that Neil Aquino also wrote a blog about that, because apparently he had that I think that message actually went on one of Neil Aquino's posts, if I remember correctly, but you're absolutely right about that. But Richard, my lines are completely full, so thank you for calling and thank you for being there, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to John. John, come on in.
I wanted to say that the whole thrust of neoliberalism has convinced, ordinary people that here's the rope. Go ahead and hang yourself. You're doing a very good job, and sacrifice yourself. And they sit back, collect the profits that you make for them by not being paid really for your labor, and that they steal from you.
Yep.
And you can compare successful, I would say, socialist states like, say, Norway. Instead of like Venezuela giving all their oil money to a handful of people and Americans and making them fantastically wealthy, they decided to make the profits for the entire country. And they're really a bunch of oil-rich people, and bully for them. They kind of, saw.
John, you know what is so ironic? I want to interrupt you for a reason. You know what is so ironic? What is so ironic is that even our red state, Alaska, from all the oil that they found in Alaska, everybody get a check at the end of the year for that resource that belongs to them all. So it's not even a foreign thing to the United States. We just don't want it told too often, because what would it mean for Texans? Texans should all be getting a check for all that oil that is on the ground. But when you have the King Ranch that is owned by somebody that has mineral rights under it, that only goes to them. Anyway, continue, brother.
No, and, Alaska is throwing out a little bone. I mean, they could have given almost the same amount of money that I forget how many thousands of dollars that it works out to, of 5.6 million Norwegians, but it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And their politics are so quiet because they hardly even argue about anything. It's just, how do you distribute this huge sovereign fund? The same with Denmark, the same with Finland. They're happier societies, they're healthier societies because they actually really do invest
John,
in their people.
You're absolutely right, and I gotta go. You're absolutely right, and I get your intent, and you're absolutely right. But before you go, I just want to say this. And America is richer. The natural yes, Africa has the most natural resources than any other place, but America also has a lot. And given America's population, if we were to equitably distribute the natural resources and not have it hounded by the wealthy, my God, you would not imagine the society we would have. And moreover, because the monies would be going into people who are spending it, the vibrant economy would be there. But we have to understand, for parasites, that's a danger. Thank you. Thank you, John. I got to go. Let's go to Gil, line number 1.
Hi, sir. How are you?
Talk to me, Gil.
Yes, sir. Going back to the tax-free policy for people in the hospitality industry.
Mm-hmm.
When is that supposed to be into effect? Is it already supposed to be into effect now, or when?
I think it goes into effect actually for this tax year, because let me give you the dirty little secret, okay? Yes, I think it goes into effect for this tax year already, but guess when it expires? It expires at the end of Donald Trump's term, okay? And it would have to be reinstituted again, that's the only way the numbers worked. And they always screw the working class. So the real taxes that go for the working class, they expire after Donald Trump leaves office.
Okay.
So there you go. I mean,
I work as a waiter, and I've yet to see. Okay, sir, am I not supposed to see on the FICA on my check? Is it supposed to be 0?
No. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay, here's the thing. Because of that thing there are 3 taxes that you pay. All of us are going to pay. You're going to pay income taxes, you're going to pay FICA taxes, which is Social Security, and you're going to pay Medicare taxes. You can't run away from the Medicare tax, okay? So when he talk about tax-free, he's talking about income tax, okay? And here's the thing about income tax. Income tax, you have something called the standard deduction. unless you make over, and I don't remember for a single person how much that standard deduction is, but rarely are you going to find yourself paying, rarely are you going to find the no tax on tips or the no tax on overtime supersede that standard deduction, which means the standard deduction would have given you sufficient coverage anyway, not to pay taxes. But it sounds good when it's on TV, but the people it help are the higher wage persons. If you work at a high-end hotel where you make these huge tips and these huge overtime, it makes sense for a few people. But for most waiters, most waitresses, you won't see a difference. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you, but we try to tell you that for a long time. You won't see a difference. But guess what? You're going to see a difference, son, brother. If you work for an employer, most of these people in the hospitality industry, they don't give you health insurance. So your health insurance really comes from the exchange, the Obamacare exchange. In other states, they call it something else, Connect Care, or in Kentucky, or the Affordable Care Act in Texas. They don't use the Obamacare thing. Well, guess what else this bill did? It removed the subsidies to the Affordable Care Act. A lot of people are getting insurance, not understanding they were getting it from the Affordable Care Act, which means
The audio went out on my radio.
Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. But let me just say that you're going to pay.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah, I can hear you. I hope other people can hear me as well. But let's go ahead and move on then to Gil. Let's see. Let's go to Mike.
Yeah. Good
Mike.
morning.
Good.
I want to talk. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So the forever wars that we're stuck in. Some background on that. A little while ago, the Jerusalem Post, Israeli newspaper, wrote an editorial reflective of the forever war mentality. Jerusalem Post is very well tied into the Netanyahu government, the right-wing government in Israel. And they wrote, having weak enemies is better than having no enemies. Too much peace and prosperity is not good for a nation. Your enemies can be a blessing. Not long after that, maybe a few days after that, a professor at Hebrew University wrote a piece where he said Israel's next target, I guess after they finish the genocide and kill all the Palestinians and kick them out and out of their homes and land and all that. But anyway, he said Israel's next target should be Algeria. So they're going to move into Africa and start forever wars there. Now, one thing to understand is the Mossad and the Israeli military are very, very closely tied to the CIA and the U.S. government, especially with the Trump administration, even more so with the Trump administration. And it's telling that Trump now wants to change the Department of Defense to Department of War. So what I'm saying is that this is something that we need to understand why. There is a deep state, and that's the deep state that's keeping us in these forever wars. And if we don't really scrutinize our representatives, do what we can to vote in peace candidates, who's working for peace? Can you tell me who in the world is seeking peace right now? It seems like, anyway, and we find ourselves, the American people, engaged in genocide. How do you feel about that? All of you listening out there. I know every time I take a bite of food, it tears me apart that a child in Palestine is starving to death.
I get it. You're absolutely right. I think we get the gist of your discussion, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that war is very profitable. The thing about it is the type of profit that it makes creates nothing. It destroys everything. Instead of war, we could build canals. Right. Instead of war, we could build industries that there's so much. But again, that's not that requires too much effort. We'll talk another time, Mike, because I'm out of time with a lot of people to handle. So I'm going to have to limit everybody to 45 seconds. Thank you, Mike. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Happy Tuesday, brother.
Main reason I wanted to call was this: we bombed a boat the other day that we said was carrying drugs. It killed 12 people on this boat, and that's really the wrong thing to do. We should arrest people like that. They don't deserve to be killed, and that's going to put American lives in danger also, because people are going to retaliate for those deaths, and they may want to try to bomb America and kill Americans. So whoever, we shouldn't be doing things like that.
I covered that yesterday, Jimmy, where, let's see what happens if somebody that we're selling arms to, if they blow up a ship that's carrying a whole bunch of arms to the rebels in some other country, and we say, well, they were coming to kill in our country, so we blew them up in the middle of the international waters. That's what we have opened the door for. So very good point, Jimmy. I got to go, but thank you for that, sir. Let's go to Nancy. Come on in, Nancy.
Hi, thanks. Today's the 9th day of the global Sumud flotilla, which is approximately 46 boats of all different sizes, and they're headed to Gaza with food and water and medical and infant formulas and all kind of different size boats. So they have to go at a slow speed. And last night, a bomb was dropped on the lead boat that Greta Thunberg was on, and no one was killed. It set the boat on fire. They put the fire out, and they're still proceeding. There is a website that includes a sample letter to all UN agencies, and it has 3 demands to protect the global Sumud flotilla, which is around 46 boats right now, and to reject the Saudi-France stabilization proposal, which is just to return to the illegal status before.
Nancy, where did the bomb come from? Was it from a plane, a helicopter? How was it dropped?
There was a video from other boat that was beside. They're all doing it together, close together, because they don't want.
The question is, how was a bomb dropped?
Yeah, it was darkness. It was last night, so they could not see. You cannot see in the video. But before the bomb hit, there was it's called a helix type drone. There were lots of drones that were just. So
it was a good drone. Got you. Got you. That's what I wanted to know. I got to go, Nancy, but you answered my question.
Yeah, okay. So
thank you, Nancy. I'm out of time. We will go to the website. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you brought up a lot of topics, and you're the only one that I know of. Any type of a tax cut is bad. You make it bad on no matter what Trump does. Now, Alaska is 3 times the size of Texas, has 1/3 of the population, and Texas does not pay state tax due to the oil companies paying this state tax. There were 13 tons of fentanyl-making products confiscated in international waters last week. There was a press conference held right here in Houston. No one said anything about that, but they are saying everything about these 7 people that were killed on that boat.
Okay, you said 2 topics. Let me just first say the drug problem is an American problem. That's it. If you want to solve the drug problem, stop being dope heads in America. All right, that'll solve the drug problems immediately. Number 2, when it comes to taxes, Texas doesn't have income tax, but our property tax are ridiculously state tax, state income tax. It is ridiculously high, and our sales taxes are ridiculously high. So they get you somehow, and the people who get off, in fact, are the oil companies. Anyway, I got to get out of here, Brian. So we don't have any more time. Yeah. Let's go. Bye. Let me see. There's one more call. Just pass them through, and we'll see if I can take it. Okay, caller, whoever that is, talk. Last call.
Yeah. Or in fact,
turn the radio down and talk, please.
Get out of here, Brian. So we don't have any more time. Let's go.
All right. The person wasn't talking. All right, let's throw it to the studio.
Yeah, that was a lot. I feel like I learned, but like I'm still a little bit confused on some things, but that's.
Give me. I need that. I need that feedback. Give me the major concern, because the next time I'll try to fix that.
No, it's just when you were going into some of the things with the stocks, and you were talking about the dividends, and then not being taxed on that and putting it back, and I was just trying to figure out how that's all working. And I was just telling, Jack, that I need a course on this, that I can understand it.
That's you see, and that's a thing, Mayana. Most people don't have the time, or will they get a course? And that's what I feel our job is, right? And that's why I need the feedback so that I can better explain it. And I mean that. I want people to come on this show and hear this stuff and leave understanding it. So where I need to correct something, or I'd like people to ask questions in real time so that we can clear it up, because this is some important what. Because this is why.
Maybe if you go through step by step a little bit with the capital gains and the subsidies, because I just want to understand what they actually mean, especially the subsidies.
Okay, excellent. Next time I'll clear it up. And let me tell you, the next time we do it, for those because you represent a whole lot of people that are listening as well. So interrupt me sometimes and say, explain this or say this or whatever, because then the rest of the people would get it as well. So please do that. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, Jack.
No, I'm good. Good show with Egberto.
Thank you, brother. And that goes for the audience as well. If I can only know how good I'm at explaining something. If you say, hey, what you just said didn't make good sense at all, explain it better, I'll do that. Anyhow, folks, the rest of the program, which we didn't get to a lot of it, is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. I love you all, absolutely every one of you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise,